Everybody, I am joined now with the man or reporter of the hour, evening. What should we call you, Steve? What do you think?
Just Steve.
He says just Steve. He's so modest.
Hey, I know we're on Fox News now. Taking it down a notch. Is it okay if I loosen my tie a little bit?
It's okay. It's all right. Especially it's evening hours now. Let's relax a little bit.
Fox News Now after dark.
I like that. We should hashtag it.
I like that.
All right, Steve. So you've been covering this special election all day.
Yep.
How are things looking so far? What are we thinking?
Well, we won't know until about 8 o'clock. I do know the polls close at 7. So what folks should do is watch us on their phones and then drive, but not watch us while you're driving.
Right, be passenger.
Right. But get out to if you haven't voted and you live in CD8, you should vote because everyone should vote. It's a good thing to do.
Civic duty.
And you can go on maricopa.vote, maricopa.vote, real simple. And there's a little tab right there on the front page. All you got to do is plug in your address and it'll say, okay, you go to there. And no lines, it's easy to vote, takes like 30 seconds.
Speaking of no lines, is that because everybody's doing mail-in ballot, or why is that?
Well, first of all, there are 55 different places in one congressional district to vote. That's a lot of places. So every neighborhood's got a couple places, real simple. So that's number one. And the other thing is there's a lot of interest, and a lot of people have voted mailed-in ballots.
Yes.
So that makes it more convenient today to make your voice heard. You can see all those mail-in ballots. We were looking at them today, and people can still drop off ballots up until 7 o'clock if you want to. At any polling place, you don't even have to stand in line. Not that there are any lines, but if there were, you could just walk in and boop, give them your thing out.
We did have a viewer ask earlier, Arizona still has paper ballots. We don't vote electronically. Does any state do that? Do you know?
Yeah, there is some of that, but we are not one of those states.
Right. We do things the old-fashioned way, so to speak.
Well, of course, these go through these fancy machines that process them real fast. So I mean, that's how they do it. They've already processed 157,000 votes this year.
I heard that in the interview. We've replayed it a couple times.
That's a lot of votes. So people are interested, and so. Timeline, to answer your question, is 8 o'clock they'll start releasing. And if you go on maricopa.vote, that same website will also start telling you the results of the election.
Awesome. Real time. I like that.
So I think probably in a half an hour to 40 minutes, maybe not even that long, you'll have a pretty good idea who's won the election, I think. Now,
this is a district that traditionally votes Republican, right?
Always votes Republican.
Yeah.
Since like 1977.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah. So it would be very hard for a Republican to screw this up.
Yeah.
Is it possible? Yeah, it's possible, because this is a very unsettled time in politics.
Yeah.
And President Trump is proven to be, in some quarters, deeply unpopular, and Republicans have managed to lose some seats that they should never lose. There should never be, in the modern era, a Democratic senator from Alabama. But there is. There shouldn't be a Democrat representing southwestern Pennsylvania, suburbs of Pittsburgh. But there is. There should not, conventional wisdom, be a Democrat representing the Northwest Valley of the Sun. Right. We'll see tonight if that happens.
And for those who are not in Arizona or the Valley, they're like, why are we doing this special election? That's because former Congressman Trent Franks resigned in December.
That's right, disgracefully. And I think it's fair to say that. I haven't shied away from that.
Right.
The allegation against him was that he offered to pay a staffer $5 million to be a surrogate to have his baby. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, duh. So he had to leave office. Well, he didn't have to, but he decided to. And I think House leaders told him, come on, man, go. So he left. Bottom line, he left. Like a lot of people, frankly, Democrats and Republicans have been caught up in sex scandals. This happens to be a Republican, and he's out. So this is a special election to complete his term. That is going to be done by next November. Right. And then everyone runs again every 2 years.
So this is round one.
So just think of, like boxers, right? Like Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, or Rocky Balboa, Apollo Creed, right? Yeah. Rocky won. He came in, he put up a good fight, but Apollo hung out and won. Right. Rocky 2 came back, boom. Rocky 3, they got Ivan Drago, You know, Mr. T came in and some of them, but I'm going far afield here. But there will be a rematch.
Yes.
What I'm trying to say is
November. So we're a very social show, so I can't pull them up right now. I probably will either screenshot or pull them up live earlier. But you know me, I had to check the Facebook and the Twitter accounts for both candidates.
Please do, yeah.
And is it Tipierneni or Nini?
I'm going with Tipierneni.
Tipierneni. Yeah. That's what I've been saying too. I'm trying to not say it wrong.
I think that's correct.
So
I think that's good.
She had a lot more likes and Twitter followers.
Well, you know, I don't know what to think, and I'm not making any assumptions about this race.
Right.
It's up to the people to decide, not the news reporters.
Exactly.
So let the people decide, and then we'll read the tea leaves. I have no clue how it's going to come out. I just think it's great when people are fired up about politics, when they go out there and they vote, and they have intelligent discussions about issues that move the country forward. Intelligent. What I don't want to deal with are just a bunch of insults, trolls, and dumb stuff.
Yeah.
It's a waste of everybody's time.
Yeah. So we don't have any sort of like surveys or guesstimates or estimates.
Well, there have been a couple surveys, but I don't know how reliable they are.
Right.
I mean, one of them had Debbie Lesko up, another one had Tipierneni pretty much even or slightly ahead of her. Who knows? The only poll that really matters is this poll that's going on tonight called the election. And but the interesting thing to watch for is this is such a Republican district traditionally. The president carried it by 21 points, 56 to 37.
Yeah.
Wait a second, is that 21? Or is that 19? That's 19. Whatever.
You do math quicker than I do, Steve.
19. But bottom line, it's like a 20-point deal, right?
Right.
So it's easy pickings for Republicans typically. So if it doesn't turn out to be like a hefty margin in favor of Debbie Lesko tonight, close to 20 points, that tells you something. That tells you that the times are a-changing, as Bob Dylan would say. I
grew up in the East Valley in Mesa.
I did not know that.
So when you were talking about Northwest, West Valley, I mean, of course I've been there because every Phoenician has. They've driven through to go to California or go to the West Side for family, friends, business, whatever. But aside from Surprise, what other little communities are up there in CD8?
Well, Sun City.
Yes,
that's a big part. Now, the average age of voters, I understand, is like 67 years old.
In CD8?
In CD8.
Wow.
So that's a lot of senior citizens voting. So Sun City is a major part of the district. I think parts of Surprise and Peoria are in that district. Parts of Glendale are in that district. There may be a little bit of Phoenix in that district, northwest side. But you know the general area. I believe that all of Surprise is in CD8.
Yeah, I saw that too when I pulled up the map.
Entire city of Surprise.
I'm a firm believer in there's no such thing as stupid questions. But one of the
I ask a lot of stupid questions, so I'm glad you feel that way. I really do. One
of the things I couldn't help but notice, though, while we were watching the campaign ads, is that Tipierneni is a ER doctor.
Correct.
So it's like, I mean, of course, those who follow Capitol Hill and Congress understand, you have to leave your jobs to go.
And she hasn't been working recently as an ER doctor.
Oh.
I don't believe she's been on duty in the last, certainly not during this campaign or previous to it. No.
And since Frank,
but that's historically what she did as a job.
Right. And since Frank's resigned in December, this race, I mean, they've been out there campaigning since December.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know that she's pulling her normal or her historic shift as a ER doctor, but that is what she did. I mean, that is her professional background.
And she's about cancer research. She's an advocate for them?
She is. She's an advocate for cancer research. She is an advocate for more universal health care. She would like to extend some of the Medicare protections to more people. So that's a significant difference with Debbie Lesko. Another difference between the two of them is because Debbie Lesko does not agree on those issues and is in favor of the dismantling of Obamacare. And it's hazy to me what she would put in place of it, or even if having everybody covered by insurance is really that big of a priority for her.
And Lesko served in the Arizona legislature.
She served in the legislature from that area, so she's familiar to people in that area. Debbie Lesko also is a supporter of building a wall. Like President Trump, she's in lockstep with President Trump on many issues. Tipierneni, by contrast, does not favor a wall, as most Democrats do not favor a wall. Instead, she's in favor of technological improvements on the border, more Border Patrol agents, more of a virtual fence or wall. And she also says that most of the people who enter the country illegally do it, and this is actually true, by overstaying visas.
Yeah.
So building a 30-foot wall or a 130-foot wall does nothing for people who fly to Kansas City and then overstay a visa.
Right. Right.
So what's the plan there?
Or the ones who are caught and then are released and then never return to court.
Well, that's true too.
Right.
So anyway, there are some significant philosophical differences between the two of them, and they kind of reflect the differences between the political parties. And so when we say that this election in many ways is a referendum on President Trump, that's why we say it, because the two candidates reflect the two parties.
Yeah.
Debbie Lesko is a pretty good carbon copy of President Trump's prescriptions and policies for the country. And Tipierneni is very much in line with Democratic thinking. And so people get to decide which approach they prefer, and these are the two symbols they can choose between.
Yeah.
So there you go. We'll find out tonight who wins and who loses, but no matter what, unless it's a complete blowout, let's say Tipierneni loses by 25 points, she may decide this is hopeless.
Right.
On the other hand, if it's a pretty close election, she might be emboldened. And the important thing to remember is if she keeps it close, that means that Democrats who sat on their wallets, like the National Party, will say, you know what, this one's worth shelling out some money, because we didn't really spend much money on her campaign, whereas the Republicans were all in, trying to save the seat and hang on to it. President Trump made robocalls, and the National Party pumped a lot of money into this district. The Democratic National Party did not, although some progressive groups did, with a bunch of attack ads basically in the last week or two. So Lesko spent a lot more money, has had a lot more money on this in this campaign than Tipierneni has. But if Tipierneni keeps it pretty close, Democrats will think, wow, who knows? Maybe we can go deep here and actually win this one, and that would be a real feather in our cap, and they may be very committed to it in the fall, and then we're going to have a real interesting race in November if it's close enough this time around.
So do you happen to remember the last time Arizona had a special election?
Well,
putting you on the spot.
I don't. Gosh, we seem to have a lot of them. No, not really. I mean, you got me there. We've had a bunch of them here and there. I mean, we've had all kinds of odd ways that people have gotten to various offices. Mostly the governor's office. We've had a number of secretaries of state who've gotten there, either by somebody leaving the office or somebody dying in office or somebody being appointed to a federal position.
Yeah.
So the Secretary of State went up to become the governor. We've had all kinds of things happen that way.
So not just as a state, but as the Valley as a Sun, Phoenix, we're under the national spotlight right now for a lot of stuff.
We are. And of course, when you talk about special elections or just special circumstances, we have potentially a special circumstance surrounding, to answer your question, Senator McCain. Should he, for whatever reason, not complete his term, let's say he decides that to enable him, his convalescence to proceed, it's better not to be in D.C. and to be doing that job all the time, and he decides to leave office before his 6 years are up. Obviously, that'd be a situation like we're in now.
Right.
Of course, everyone hopes that he rallies and feels better, and that's what everybody hopes, obviously.
Yeah. But we have Red for Ed. We had just National School Walkout last week. So
Red for Ed is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really big deal. So now I can interview you. What do you think is going to happen?
Oh, goodness.
I mean,
I'm not used to getting the questions. I just ask.
But aren't people fired up about this?
People are so fired up about this. And I have to remove this lower third, by the way, because we're getting off topic here.
That's okay. I'm always off topic.
That's okay, too. Right. We got plenty of time here on News Now this evening.
Right, that's cool.
But what's surprising me, like I said, I lived away from the state for 5 years. I was reporting in Texas.
I did not know
I lived
that.
in 3 different markets in Texas.
Where were you?
I was in Beaumont, Texas.
Where is Beaumont?
It's in the Gulf of Mexico, right, like 30 minutes away from Louisiana.
Oh,
so
okay.
Southeast
Oil
Texas.
country. Oil country.
Right, and then I lived in El Paso, the complete opposite side of the state, and then I moved to the middle, San Antonio.
Oh, wow.
So in 5 years, I moved around. So I became, so used to Texas politics and all that sort of thing. But and so I come back, and of course I'm Facebook friends with past teachers from when I grew up, and I cannot believe how many people who taught me in, well, not really elementary school, but middle school, junior high, and high school who are still teaching, and they're a part of this Red for Ed movement. I just can't believe it. And they're contacting me for all the walk-ins and walkouts to try to get coverage, and I'm flabbergasted.
Well, the teachers really seem really united on this one.
Yeah.
I mean, I've covered a number of stories having to do with this, and I've been a little surprised that they've hung together like this. I mean, it seems like they reached a certain point where they went for 10 years without getting significant raises, and they took a lot of money away when the recession hit. hasn't really come back into the system, and they feel like they're always being told that more money's coming in, but they never really get it.
Yeah.
And they kind of got to a point where they just, I think they were emboldened by what happened in West Virginia, and that became sort of the template for them. And I don't know, it's going to be a very emotional day on Thursday, I think.
Yeah.
What I'm waiting to see is, and one thing that puzzles me just as a citizen and also just as a journalist, is why the governor isn't making more of a show about actually talking to that union. The people who are poised to walk out are not school superintendents or legislators, it's teachers.
Yeah.
And I just think, just as an observer who doesn't really have a political stake in any of this, that if he actually, and if both sides actually met face to face, at the head of the teachers union and the head of the Arizona Educators United, or those folks from that organic Facebook group, and just a bunch of regular teachers just went and talked to the governor, maybe they'd make some progress. But the governor has adamantly refused to talk to them. He just will not deal with them. He doesn't acknowledge them. He says he doesn't understand why they're so upset, and why they're not just accepting his 20 by 2020 thing.
And there are ads out there saying that, you know, he's doing it without raising taxes. And
right, and of course there's been some, you know, difference of opinion as to whether that's the case and whether the money's actually there, and whether his projections that there'll be plenty of money to do this are realistic. And even some Republicans are not really going for that one. Other Republicans are saying maybe we should have a 3-year 1-cent sales tax for $880 million a year to pump into the system. So the teachers seem like they don't, the teachers I've talked to do not want to walk out. They're really tight with their families and their students and their schools, and it's not, their thing is teaching, it's not walking up and down, you know, out of a school.
Right.
They don't want to do it.
I've seen stickers and pins that say, I don't want to strike, but I will.
And I get the feeling, talking to the governor, that he's a man of goodwill, and that he would like this to be settled, and that he wants teachers to be happy, and he wants families and students to be happy. And of course, let's not forget, he's running for re-election next November.
Yes.
And if everything's in chaos, it's not good for him. So why they don't at some point say, why don't you guys just come to the office and let's just hash this out. Let's figure out a creative way. I don't know. Give peace a chance.
All right, Steve Kraspel, thanks for joining us. We're going to show everybody the beautiful sunset outside right now, and we'll continue to monitor your coverage on this special election tonight.
Good.
Fox10Phoenix.com.
I better get to work.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.